Welcome to the Kitcast by Hull City Kits, where we take an in-depth look at Tigers apparel past and present, and also the wider goings-on of the kit universe. I'm Les, joining me will be Adam and Mike for this special episode to celebrate the double diamond as Umbro turns 95. We want to show appreciation for one of the country's finest football kit marks, one that has supplied world champions as well as our own Hull City. Before we go exclusively Umbro, I'm going to see what my fellow kit geeks have been up to and what they've been acquiring. Adam, how goes it and what have you been up to?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. We all enjoyed the Easter members event that City put on. It was a really good night, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. The quiz was fun. They had some match ones in the raffle as well, which unfortunately none of us managed to pick up. But I think that could have caused a bit of chaos between the three of us. So.
Did you make a Jackson Naivan's trainers?
They're like squeak on his feet. Terrible trainers.
Certainly an interesting aesthetic choice.
Yeah.
Your device helped our quiz team, and he had some nice Adidas Superstars on, so that's all good. Mike, how's it going and what have you been up to?
Yeah, no, I'm great, thank you. Also enjoyed the members event. You guys have probably noticed these Hull City kit stickers kicking around. So yeah, we've been putting those out into the wild recently. So if you do see any or you would like one, drop us a tweet and we'll see what we can do.
Good stuff. So in terms of what's been kit newsworthy, what's grabbed your attention, Adam?
At the moment, kit pulls are really grabbing my attention. A lot of lower league teams are doing them at the moment. So you've got your York, Yeovil, Burton that have put them out for the fans. I think it's a really good thing to do for the fans. It gets them interacting with the club. It, makes them feel part of what's happening with the next kit that's available for the next season. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. Here's a picture of one.
What's interested you in terms of news, Mike?
Yeah, the front shirt that they wore for the Euros qualifier against Iceland, which celebrates 100 years of the FFF.
FFF.
No, it's France, not Spain.
So yeah, they referred back to the more classic look of blue shirt, white shorts, and red socks. Here's a picture. So what's caught your eye, Liz?
Another Nike kit. Brazil will wear white for the first game of this year's Copa America, and it's a throwback to their first ever international trophy. They won the Copa America 100 years ago in 1919. It might look a bit unusual seeing Brazil not wearing yellow, but up until 1950, white shirts was what they wore. And it was a big defeat at the 1950 World Cup at the Maracanã that prompted a rethink, and they decided to go with something that was a little bit more flag-based, maybe a little bit more patriotic. I got into a bit of an argument on Twitter.
It's not like you.
No, it isn't. But somebody was saying, this is nothing more than Nike marketing. It's a sort of cash grab. And, somebody who speaks out about the over-monetisation of football, I'll call it out when I see it. But I just found this was an odd thing to go for, at a time when there's shirts being released that have got broccoli prints and hot dog prints, and there's sleeve sponsors, back of shirt sponsors, back of the arse sponsors. I just think of all of the things you're going to criticise about kit capitalism, it's a team, throwing back to a successor.
History, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's what I think gets me, because it's like, what would it look like if Brazil didn't mark this, winning a tournament 100 years ago? They're basically saying that everything before 1951 is irrelevant. 3 Copa Americas, a World Cup final,
yeah.
None of that matters. And how many people are really going to buy a white shirt anyway? I would have thought it's going to be people like us who are sort of kit fans, kit collectors, kit obsessives. We accept that, we're spending money and companies are going to sort of market towards us. But I just thought it was a bit of an odd one. But anyway, here are both of Brazil's home shirts that they'll wear in the Copa America. Lastly, we're running a competition to win this 2017-2018 home shirt. Now this was the shirt that adorned the mannequin when this shirt was launched in the summer of 2017. It was launched at the Street Life Museum. There was a few players there modelling kits, but also there was this one which was on the mannequin for people to look at. You can win it. The competition is open to everybody who subscribes to our YouTube channel. So if you don't already subscribe, if you're already subscribed, you're going to be in with a chance of winning this. We'll pick somebody at random and we'll be in touch. You might recall our episode about 10 years of Poppy shirts, in which we said that not many people have got one of the 2013-14 Poppy shirts. That's because they were batch bought by an American auction house who listed them all on eBay for 5 years for absolutely eye-watering prices, and they weren't very receptive to people making lower offers. That is until early March when Adam chanced his hand. So tell us about that, Adam.
Yeah, I was slightly inebriated at 2:30 in the morning and thought, oh, I'll just have a cheeky little bid on this, and successful. Ended up picking up Robert Corran's Poppy shirt from the Southampton game. So yeah, everybody should try their luck on picking one up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, Adam, because I kind of followed Adam's advice and I managed to pick one up as well. So what I've got here is Liam Rossini's shirt, which was worn in that very same fixture.
Very nice. So would you say that it was considerably less than the normal asking price?
Yeah, massively. When we Adam sort of sent us a message quite late one night saying that he'd been lucky, offering a lot less than what the asking price was. So I thought, well, it'd be rude not to chance my arm, and I got mine for the exact same amount that Adam did.
Well, jealousy sort of got hold of mates, and so I thought I'd have a crack at one myself. So I decided to go for Stephen Quinn's teeny tiny shirt.
It's very small.
He played the last 10 minutes of the game, but I will attest that they were accepting considerably less than the original asking price, so it's worth a shot.
Definitely, and just remember the import charge on top of what you're going to pay, because it was about £30 for each of us, wasn't it? So just be ready for that one as well when it comes across.
What else have you got, Adam?
Yeah, also a nice little Jackson Irvine number. So this one is I'm really happy with the Jackson Irvine. Really one of my favourite players at the moment. So yeah, happy with that. Long hair's never looked so good.
Have you thought about buying any trainers to go with it?
Definitely not. No, no. They'd just take over the kit room, wouldn't they?
If possible.
So have you picked up anything, Mikey?
Yeah, I've got something else here as well. I've got a Matty Fryatt shirt, which was from the 2012-13 season. When I picked this up off eBay, I was quite disappointed to start with, because there wasn't a picture of the front of the shirt, and as you can see, the entire front patch sponsor there is missing. And that was until that I sent Les a message complaining about it, and he said, no, do not be disappointed, because somewhere I have a picture of that. So this shirt was actually worn in the game against Brighton and Hove Albion. So to sort of have a shirt from a known game as a kit collector and kit geek makes that all the more appealing.
Absolutely, I love me a bit of game damage. There's nothing like being able to actually pin it to an individual game. And speaking of which, I picked up this 2009-2010 away shirt that was worn by Paul McShane, and I was able to photo match it to the Sunderland away game. So it's always great when you can match up the placement of the letters and the numbers and do it to a specific game. It's been signed by him. Big fan of Paul McShane. I was definitely on the list to riot when he
still waiting for that riot though.
Yeah, the riot hasn't quite happened.
It's a lovely pickup, really lovely pickup.
Picked up one more very recently. Now I was a bit disappointed that our friend Jim McVie and Chris and JR won Jared Bowen's shirt, but
yes,
the very next day I was offered one, and that's arrived now. I've not been able to work out which game this has been worn in, but it's unwashed, it's pongy, there's a couple of bits of mud on it. I'm hoping at some point I'll be able to work out what game that was worn in. But no, it's lovely to have a Jared Bowen shirt, because it's fairly obvious he's not going to be with us too much longer.
Also, player of the season, obviously this season as well. So, but yeah, what a lovely pickup. Another special Umbro shirt there. So.
Absolutely, and with that in mind, let's discuss Umbro's 95th birthday. On the 23rd of May, it will be the 95th anniversary of Umbro, the Wilmslow-based sportswear company that grew out of the Humphrey Brothers Clothing Company. They went on to outfit FA Cup finalists from 1934. They've also clothed World Cup winners such as Brazil in 1958 and 1994, and of course England in 1966. They were involved with Hull City from at least 1955 to 1962, when City followed the trend of pared down kit compared to the heavy drill cotton and wool garb that was worn prior to that. They wore Umbro's range known as Continental from 1955. City might have worn Umbro between 1969 and 72, but we've not seen a shirt from that era in person to be able to confirm. But they definitely wore Umbro from the summer of 2007. They wore that for 3 seasons. They're our current supplier. The deal's been in place since 2014. So in this Kitcast, we're going to have a look at the best of City in Umbro in the modern era, but we'll also consider Umbro's wider appeal. So I wanted to ask both of you, what comes to mind when you think of Umbro? Now, we'll get to what City shirts you like from Umbro in a bit, but for now, what does the brand mean to you, and where do you place them in the pantheon of kit designers and kit suppliers? We'll start with you, Adam.
Well, for me, Umbro, that brand that just never disappoint. They always come out with something new, but are never scared to look back at previous for clubs. They're just, the double diamond is just something that's pure class, isn't it? They never seem to fail, ever. I mean, you look at new brands like New Balance and what they're doing for next season for Liverpool, and they're copying an Umbro shirt with the pinstripes from days gone past. They just personify kits, don't they? Let's be honest.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, for me, Umbro, when I was sort of growing up, were an unfashionable brand, really. I was the kid at school with a pair of Umbro trainers, wishing that I had a pair of Nike or Adidas. But the older I've got, I've learned and grown to appreciate Umbro a lot more. I think the things that they did sort of with England throughout the 90s and the 2000s, there's some really good iconic England shirts there. And my first Umbro shirt was the 2002 England reversible shirt, where, like most 12-year-olds, I had Beckham 7 on the back.
Did you have his part in?
Oh, I wish.
For me, Umbro have always been there. They've just felt like a constant in my life. You know, I was wearing Hull City replica shirts at school, but everyone else seemed to be wearing the pinstripes Liverpool shirt that you mentioned. You know, then you had sort of like going back with England wearing them again from like the '86 World Cup. And there's been so many great eras. You know, those England shirts between like '86 and '92 were absolutely classic. Of course, you know, the Italia '91, which I remember well. But also there's been other great periods, like the mid-90s were great for Umbro. You also had that period towards the end of the 2000s where they had the tailored by Umbro, and I was a little bit gutted that City left Umbro just as that was gaining steam, because I thought some of the tailored by Umbro kits were beautiful, like the Manchester City one with a round collar, the England shirts from that time. So I've often wished City had been in Umbro. You know, there's certain kits I look back on, like I remember Chelsea had like the crisscross pattern in about '88. I would love to have seen that in amber and black. Sheffield Wednesday had an away shirt where it had oblique pinstripes. I think I would love to have seen that in amber and black.
Ajax had a really, really lovely shirt in the 90s that would have looked amazing in black and amber. It really would have looked good in black and amber.
So I just think of Umbro as like a really venerable brand, you know, and I just look back at them, and not only have they got such an amazing back catalogue of stuff from the past, but I actually think they're producing now. I think the stuff they've been knocking out for City in the last couple of years has been consistently excellent.
I think we could have quite easily sat here and picked out 95 Umbro shirts to celebrate one for each year that they've sort of been around.
Yeah, they just don't fail. They're just a timeless classic for most shirts, aren't they?
Maybe when I win the lottery, that's something we'll revisit too. So, John Devlin, who's the estimable author of the True Colours kit books, is the high priest of illustrated polyester. He's an unashamed Umbro fan, and we asked him to tell us what are the 3 most significant Umbro kits for him, with illustrations, of course.
Hello, I'm John Devlin, and I'm the author of True Colours and run the True Colours Football Kits website and Twitter page, and it's all about Umbro at the minute. We're all talking about Umbro. It's their 95th anniversary, and Les has very kindly asked me to come on and talk about my 3 favourite Umbro kits, or the ones that have really kind of made an impact on me and stayed with me over the years. So, number 1, Liverpool Home, 1976 to 1982. This is a sponsored version that came out in '79. really it's a kit way ahead of its time, and kind of at odds with what was going on there in many respects. Big wing collars were everywhere, Umbro diamond taping on most of their kits. Liverpool one didn't have any of that. Simple colours, white V-neck, white cuffs. Key part of it for me was the gold or the amber Liverpool badge and Umbro logos. Really set that off brilliantly. And of course, having that Hitachi logo, you know, the world changed, the football world changed from then on. So that was a massive, massive kit to me. I actually had one of those, long sleeve version, without sponsorship, when I was about 9 or 10, something like that. Secondly, really important kit, probably, I think, possibly one of the most important kits. It's not just a polo shirt, it's the England 2009-2010 home kit. This shirt, this kit divides so many people, but really, when it came out, Umbro were filling all of their shirts with all manners of bells and whistles and detail and trim and everything else. This cut it right back. It was a real game changer. Everything became more simple, more classic, more tailored. It just oozed class. A fantastic kit. People say there's no design on it. It's just a white top, that's all it is. But actually that's where the beauty lies, because they stripped out anything that was unnecessary and went right back to the key essentials. And that's good design in my book. So for being brave enough to actually put that out there, I think this is one of the most influential kits ever from Umbro, in fact from anybody. That's my number 2. Finally, my print's come out a little bit light. It's obviously darker than this. Scotland, home, 88-91. My favourite ever shirt. I mean, it's just fantastic. As a Scotland supporter, despite the accent, I just love this kit. I absolutely love it. There's nothing quite like it with the extra long placket, which featured, if you will recall, the tartan trim on the inside. Fine, elegant shadow pinstripes, little SFA crest on the side there, button-up collar. It's just superb. There was a new Scotland badge that was launched, which was a lot more trim and sleek compared to the round one that they had before. And again, similar to the situation with the Liverpool shirt, the Umbro logo was now in a kind of amber colour, which again really sets it out against the shirt. So maximum branding kind of potential there as well. An absolute cracking kit for me, one of my all-time favourites and my Umbro number 1. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, John, and the Umbro seagull in the background. Total agreement about the England 2010 shirt. I'm quite pleased to have a match 1 version of this. This is Peter Crouch's shirt that was worn against Brazil in Doha in 2009, and this shirt is just a piece of art. It's just so well put together, so well thought through, but it's also got some interesting features. So these were sort of like at the beginning of their tailored by Umbro range, and these shirts were literally tailored for the young England players. And you know that this one's definitely the case, because the size tag on Peter Crouch's shirt is PC for Peter Crouch, and it's got a body that's pretty much like a medium.
Yeah.
But the length of the arms is pretty much extra large, so it's been tailored for Peter Crouch. A couple of other fascinating little things. The numbers on the back, they almost seem to float. They're affixed. They're bonded at the edge of the number, but the middle part of the number, it's sort of loose. It's not laid flat against the fabric it's on, which is absolutely fascinating. They only used this for a couple of games because it was quite an expensive process and they dropped it, but it's beautiful sort of C1, laser cut holes in the back for like additional sort of end pieces. It's absolutely beautiful. And what's quite fascinating is on England shirts is if you see the year that the game was played in applied in red, it means the game was played in England. Yeah. If it's in blue, it means it was either away or at a neutral venue, like this game was. But absolutely beautiful. Similar to John, Adam, you're a Scotland fan despite the accent. What did you make of John's number 1 pick?
John's number 1 pick, it's a lovely shirt. It's not my favourite personally. John's number 1 was the 88 to 91, whereas my personal favourite is the 1985 to 88. The round neck for me was more of a standout point. I think that looked more sleek. The shorts, not so much, but the shirt in general, just the collar and the way that it looked was my favourite. I like the round badges on the Scotland shirt as well. They've gone back to that recently, but that is my favourite shirt.
I don't ever want to see you in those shorts.
Here's a picture of my favourite shirt.
Now we're going to view Umbro kits through the prism of Hull City kit geekery, and each of us will choose 3 Umbro shirts from kits we love. Adam's going to take third shirts, Mikey away shirts, and I'm going for primary shirts, all used by City since 2007. So we're going for modern era City shirts. So Adam, your choices are the most limited because there's been less third shirts than there have been home and away. But regardless, what's your third most admired third shirt?
So my third choice would be the Cactus Purple. I'm a firm believer that third shirts give you a license to go as wacky and as out there as possible.
Absolutely.
And I think Umbro did that perfectly with this shirt. It's just the colour of it is so shocking that it just draws you in. I think the neckline on that shirt and the fit of it was just a brilliant kit.
Yeah, this is the one I have serious shirt envy when it comes to this shirt. Adam and Les are both fortunate to have a Cactus Purple shirt in their collection, and it's something that has evaded me so far.
Well, I'm gutted that I don't have a match worn one. Mine's just simply match issue. It's even got a little bit of game damage on it, hasn't it?
It has, yeah, the fives coming off at the back, at the bottom. So, but yeah, only goal scored by City in Cactus Purple was that shirt. So.
Wait on.
Yes, 6-1
Yeah,
loss.
I was going to say 6-1.
It's a nice shirt.
Yeah, so here's a picture of it in action.
Good stuff. Mike, what's third on your away shirts list then?
Yeah, a very recent shirt, one that we've seen on this Kitcast previously. So you can open for Les. Brilliant. So this is this season's away shirt. You'll have noticed this featured on our last Kitcast. This one was issued to Avandra. Probably unlucky to finish third, if I'm honest. Really liking this shirt. Obviously, we spoke about it previously, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much. But the double diamond on the sleeves there, and the fact that Sports Pairs and Umbro both incorporated our club colours into their branding makes this shirt just a massive appeal to me as well. We've had shirts in the past where the crest has been sort of questioned, but we've sort of likely to try and judge it upon the shirt. The actual way that the crest is applied to the shirt as well, I think it's probably the best it's actually ever been on a Hull City shirt.
Parquet floral
Yeah, you've probably noticed it's exactly the same on the replicas as well, and I just think that the attention to detail that was put into that is brilliant.
Collars, a nice throwback too.
Yeah, the collars back throwback to the 60s there. So yeah, something else that we really like. Here's a picture of this one in action as well.
The first of my 3 homes is from this season too, which sort of surprised me a little bit. I sort of did a round robin tournament on paper. I tried to make this as scientific as possible, and so the shirts played each other and got 3 points or a point or whatever. And when I totted them up, I was perhaps a little bit surprised that the current season came third, but I think actually that just shows, as we were saying earlier, what a good job Umbro are sort of doing for us at the moment. So I've gone with Jackson Irvine's shirt issued for the Swansea game, which was the Kits for Africa game, but previous shirts like the 2017-2018, the one thing I liked about that was it reminded me of a shirt from 1962-63. You could say that's going back on our history. That one, the black shirt you've just mentioned, you've got the collar reference to the 60s. Whereas this one, on the other hand, I think is a bit more contemporary. You can't pin this to a previous Hull City kit, but it looks like it's sort of modern and fresh. The raglan sleeves are very much in vogue with lots of different brands. The way that the stripes are grouping together, I call that twin stripes. I just think it's a very modern looking and fresh kit, but at the same time, I think it's instantly identifiable as a Hull City shirt, and that to me is what a home shirt should be. And I think this is emblematic of the work Umbro have done for City in recent years. if a supplier can't give you bespoke kits, what they can do is give you kits that are distinct. And I kind of like, you know, at a time when Nike are giving every team the exact same shirt in different colours, I kind of like Umbro's approach of, it's like a modular approach. So, okay, this might be the same across their stable of teams, but I've not seen this collar used much. I'm not saying it hasn't been used again, but there isn't another Umbro kit that you can say, oh, that looks like the same as that. And I think, you know, if you can go distinct, if you can't have bespoke, I think that's probably about as good as it can get for a city of the size and stature of Hull City, I think. So here's a shot of this kit in action. So Adam, what's your second most significant third shirt?
Okay, so my second one is this one here. It's just a stunning shirt. The blue going through the neckline. It was meant to be used for Europe. Only got one outing because we got knocked out, but we then used it as a third shirt in the league. So games like Newcastle, everybody remembers that Yelovich goal at Newcastle. It's just a crisp, clean City shirt. It's really simple, really nice, and yeah, just a stunning shirt. I can't say enough about it, to be honest, how beautiful it really is.
Yeah, we've spoken about a couple of the shirts and the fact that the branding and the sponsorship have sort of helped us with the colour match. I think that if the 1-2 bet was all in black, I think that's maybe the only thing that I would
possibly
of
the
change
same
about
colour
the
as the blue in the neckline.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Would have been nice, but it's just such a lovely shirt. It really is.
Yeah, I really like the fact that Umbro fused together two of our most commonly used away colours. You know, so City have often worn white shirts, but we've also started wearing blue a lot, certainly since the 2004-05 season. So I thought pairing them together, white with the blue shirts, I thought that was a really nice touch. This shirt was worn by Robbie Brady at Anfield in the 0-0 draw with Liverpool. Here's a picture of that shirt in action. What's your second shirt?
Second shirt. So this is again quite recent, which does detail how much Umbro have sort of been good to us recently. So this was last season's away shirt. So my opinions on away shirts, I'm very fond of Hull City on the road in white. I think it limits the opportunity for a kit clash, and it just kind of gives us a sort of a fresh look. The added amber on the sleeves there, which kind of reiterates our primary colour, and the tapering on the arms, the fact that it's sort of sublimated into the fabric just kind of makes it an added detail to the point where it's noticeable but not something that's sort of overpowering. The shirt was worn by Jared, and again it's something that I have a little bit of shirt envy of because it's something that Adam's got in his collection.
It's from the Brentford game, the last game of the season, where he scored and we drew 1-1. I love going down to Brentford. It's a lovely away day. But yeah, it's a stunning kit again. Really, really nice shirt. So
yeah, excellent.
I'm a big fan of this. I just think it's really understated.
Yeah.
And personally, I think this shirt was underrated. I don't think enough people raved about it. So I'm quite glad that we're getting the opportunity to reiterate how ace it is now.
I feel it's like the third shirt that I've just shown, very crisp and clean with the white, but with just a little bit of touch of colour that takes it back to being a city shirt. It's just a really, really nice shirt again. It's a good choice.
Now, here's a picture of it in action. So Les, back to the primary kits. So what's your second favourite?
My second favourite Umbro home is the 2008-2009 shirt, our Premier League debut shirt. I was absolutely delighted that we was back in stripes for the first season in the Premier League, mainly because, you know, when you're going to be playing in a division that's going to be watched over the world and you know, people across the globe are going to see it, I wanted it to be in our proper look.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I quite like some of our plain amber shirts, but I am a bit of a striped shirt supremacist. I think when we wear amber, it's easy for us to look like Wolves, Cambridge, Boston. But by and large, when Hull City wear black and amber stripes, I think we own that look. That look is us. And I like it. And I love the way Umbro executed it for this one. They went with the thinner stripes, so it means there's still a lot of amber. You know, black stripes can obviously darken a kit, but as long as you've got lots of the other colour on it, I think this kept it really bright, even though that, you know, it had like a black yoke panel. Perhaps my only criticism is I thought the collar was a little bit flimsy, but nonetheless this was just an absolutely beautiful shirt, and it's become iconic. You know, wins at Arsenal, wins at Tottenham in it, 0-0 draw at Chelsea, and then you got your home games as well. This shirt was worn by Michael Turner, who was the player of the year that year. He wore this at Aston Villa. Sadly it was a 3-0 defeat, but I'm quite pleased to have a Michael Turner shirt. He was a player that I massively admired. Here's a picture of this kit in action. So Adam, it's time for your top Umbro Hull City third shirt.
Number 1. So it had to be. Just had to be. The Navy Peony. It's such a gorgeous shirt. It's just stunning. Like I was saying earlier about Umbro taking something from the club's past and bringing it into a new light. Tiger print inside it. It's a little bit darker, so you can't really recognise it straight away, but it's just there. The amber stripes on the top of the sleeves. It's just a stunning shirt. Really, really stunning shirt. I actually wanted it to be an away shirt and have that look of, we can use it as a third shirt the season after, like we have done plenty of times before in the past with other shirts. It's just such a gorgeous shirt. I just can't say enough positives about it. It's just so nice.
What do you think about it, Mike?
Yeah, I love it. This would have been a very tough call if I'd been given the third shirts. I'd have been struggling to choose a winner between this and the purple cactus, because those two for me are, you know, like what Adam said earlier on, in the fact that we're talking about third shirts and they've been a little bit more out there.
I honestly think that's possibly one of the best Hull City shirts ever. Never mind third shirts or away shirts or home shirts, just ever. It's up there in the top 3 ever for me.
I've only recently figured out that actually navy blue is Sport Pez's brand colour, and that it's entirely possible we've done this as a bit of a nod to them. Now ordinarily that would maybe bug me a little bit, because I'd be like, do I want a bookmakers deciding the colours for City? But I agree with you, it's just such a beautiful, well done shirt that I can overlook it.
No,
just
absolutely.
stunning. Here's a picture of it in action. So Mike, what's your number 1?
Number 1 away shirt. So yeah, I've gone with the 07-08 away shirt. So this shirt for me, well, you can't look at it and think of anything other than promotion really. I think of Fraser Campbell back when he was a young pup, plying his trade with Hull City. There's a lot to be sort of said about this shirt. One of the things that a lot of people think is, if you look under the sleeve here, a lot of people think this is tiger print. Well, if you was to see this on some other shirts, I believe it was on an England shirt, Birmingham, West Brom, it's not actually a tiger print, it's actually double diamond in sort of many different sort of variations and shapes. So that's something that a few clubs have put on there. We spoke about clubs getting sort of generic templates, and yes, this was something that more than one club wore. But I just think that the black and amber on the chest throughout into the shoulders, and then another variation of double diamond on the shoulders there, just kind of gives this shirt a really good appeal. It's just something where, again, I know I spoke about it on my second pick, and I just think that City in all white is something that really does sort of appeal to me. And just to sort of tie in with what Adam said about the last shirt, this then went on to be the third shirt for the following season, which was won in the Premier League.
Newcastle in the Cup, with the Premier League patches though. Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have one of those as well. I've been quite lucky with those third shirts.
You showed that off on the last podcast.
But yeah, it's a lovely shirt. It's a really lovely shirt. It just reminds you of promotion, like you've said. Players that have worn it, that have become cult heroes, legends of City. Ashby, Windass, Campbell, like you've said, JJ Kocher. They all wore it, didn't they? They've all made their name in it.
It was a strong season as well, and I think looking at that, Les, have you got something to say about the
Yeah, just think
This is
that
it.
a lot of people aren't aware of, but there's a pattern that's sort of been embossed into the sleeves, and it's Morse code, and it's Morse code for football shirt by Umbro, which is just one of those like nice little touches that most people aren't going to be aware of. I agree with you. I think this is the finest Hull City shirt. So it's Hull City away shirt ever. Certainly the finest Umbro away shirt ever. I just think this is absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, so this is one sort of from my collection, which I'm lucky enough to have. If Les will swing it around for us, it was worn by John Welsh throughout the 2007-8 season. So you know, it's a good one that I'm quite happy to have in my collection. And here's a photo of it in action. So that brings us down to one last shirt. So Les, what is your favourite Umbro Hull City home shirt?
I think this is going to be a contentious choice.
It is.
When we were coming up with the idea for this, and I was starting my rankings, I posted an image of all 8 Hull City Umbro home shirts, and people started adding numbers to them and doing it. And the one that I've chosen as the finest, nobody else went with. I know you're certainly in strong agreement. I think you think I should be sealed in an iron ball and fired into the sun. But my choice is the 2014-2015 home shirt. Why? Well, my favourite Hull City shirt ever is the 1990 to 1992 shirt, and the way that runs is thin stripes, so there's lots of amber on display, also plain amber sleeves. I think, you know, a way to make sure a striped shirt is bright is to have amber sleeves, and this Umbro shirt follows that same pattern. It's a very different shirt, but it follows that same idea of thin stripes, lots of amber stripes, and also plain amber sleeves.
Again, going back to Umbro, looking at all the shirts and bringing them forward with a new look.
Well, it's interesting. This looks like an older shirt, but not an older Hull City shirt. Yeah. It's funny. We was at West Brom recently, and there's a lot of West Brom fans wearing retros of the 1960s sort of Jeff Hassel shirt. And this is actually very similar in the design. You know, the simple round collar. It's sort of like a brush collar. But although it isn't based on like a past Hull City shirt, I do like that simple 1960s aesthetic. It's the striped shirt that we never had in the late 60s that perhaps we should have. I just think it's absolutely fantastic. We've said as a caveat that we're not going to discuss the crest. That's got nothing to do with Umbro. They've got no sway in it, so I'm not going to mention that. But even the sponsor, I'm not a fan of betting companies, but I actually kind of like the novelty of having the Kanji text on it. I thought that worked okay. I think the sponsor's been treated fairly well. It's in, you know, it's in 2 basic colours that are sympathetic with the rest of the shirt. It doesn't jar in the same way like a red and green sponsor did on the Tote Sport ones. But also that you've got the fact that there were 2 versions of this shirt. So you had your domestic version, but then you had the versions that were created for when City were due to play in Europe. Now, UEFA's rules on number eligibility are a little stricter than the FA's are, and what they say is that if you have stripes or bands or any kind of pattern on the back, then you need to have a free zone that's one colour for a one coloured name and number applicator to go on. So I absolutely love that, you know, the fact that not many shirts were created with these. I know City had a special batch done that were made in China and shipped over. They weren't able to be used in the Trenching first game, where we wore Premier League shirts with Premier League numbers, but for the home game
And Loughran.
the home game against Loughran, that's when we brought these out, and Ahmed El Mohammadi, who was Hull City's first European goal scorer, he wore this shirt in that game. But even that's like a bit of a throwback to the 1990-92, because City had amber patches that the number was affixed to. So I absolutely love that. Sadly, because we crashed out of Europe far too soon, this shirt was redesignated as a cup kit, and it got used in the League Cup at West Brom, and it was also used in the FA Cup at Arsenal. But I just think overall, I just think this is absolutely classic looking, and I know there's going to be many people that are going to be you know, chasing me out of the city with torches of fire. But I just think, you know, this isn't my favourite Hull City home shirt of all time, but it's my favourite Hull City Umbro shirt of all time.
Very good.
So that's it for our Umbro special. Let us know your views on our subjective assessments, and you can join the conversation on Twitter, on Facebook and Instagram, where we are Hull City Kits.